Welcome back to the Dallas Cowboys fans, where things are starting to heat up in training camp, and ESPN has officially released their Dallas Cowboys 53-man roster projection. Now, let's be real, nobody needs a deep dive on CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens. We all know they're making the team. The real intrigue lies in the guys hovering on the bubble, the players who are fighting every day in camp just to make the final cut. And to kick things off with a little fan engagement, here's a reminder: the person with the most comments on today's show will earn a free entry into our George Pickens jersey raffle. Jeremy Carter won last time, and now it's your shot. Spam the comments, drop 100 messages, and you might be the next winner. Now, on to the cuts. Starting with quarterbacks, ESPN's projection only included two, Dak Prescott and Joe Milton. That leaves Will Grier as the odd man out, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's gone for good. The Cowboys have always liked Grier more than most teams around the league, even trusting him at times as their backup. But after trading for Milton and watching him get the majority of second-team reps so far in camp, it's clear Dallas is invested in developing the rookie's upside. If Milton ends up winning the backup role outright, Grier, as a vested veteran, won't be subject to waivers, meaning he could be cut and immediately re-signed to the practice squad with a handshake agreement that he remains the Q3. It's a strategy the Cowboys could very well deploy to preserve roster flexibility while keeping their emergency quarterback option available. So, what do you think? Will Grier, yes or no, for the final 53? Drop your votes in the comments. Shifting to the running back room, things are looking crowded and competitive, and ESPN's projection definitely raised some eyebrows. Both Phil Maffa and Deuce Vaughn were left off, despite flashes from both players during camp. The roster only includes Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue, and fullback Hunter Luepke. That's a lighter group than expected, especially when you consider that Maffa was a draft pick with size and upside, and Vaughn, though undersized, has shown explosiveness in limited reps. But let's be honest, none of these running backs have had a full opportunity to prove themselves just yet, because the pads haven't come on. Vaughn had that one game last year with a more legitimate workload, and he looked solid. But how many opportunities will he realistically get now, especially with the new faces in the room? Right now, it looks like Jaden Blue and Luepke are the only true roster locks. Williams and Sanders have consistently worked with the ones during camp, which gives them a leg up, but this position battle is far from over. The moment those pads come on, we'll know who's really ready to carry the rock in a crowded backfield. Now, if we're talking about trenches, the Cowboys' offensive line is stacked, and I mean loaded. ESPN's projection only cut 4 linemen out of the 15 currently in camp. That's a heavy number, but for good reason. Everyone projected to make the team was either a former draft pick or has NFL starting experience. You've got first-rounders like Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, and Tyler Booker anchoring the future of this line. You've got Cooper Beebe, a third-rounder who looks like he could start in year 1. You've got depth guys like Asim Richards and Nathan Thomas, plus veterans like Terrence Steele, Brock Hoffman, and Robert Jones, all with real starting reps. Even TJ Bass, a 6th-rounder, has shown versatility and reliability. This is the deepest O-line room Dallas has had in years, and it's going to make a massive difference, not just in camp, but in preseason games. While other teams will be trotting out nobodies in the fourth quarter, Dallas will be running behind third-string linemen who could legitimately make other teams' active rosters. If injuries occur, they're covered. If injuries don't occur, well, that opens the door for trade opportunities. This kind of depth is rare and extremely valuable. Now let's shift to the defensive side, where special teams AC. J. Goodwin finds himself on the outside looking in. His name popped up among the potential cuts, and while he's not a typical cornerback who contributes defensively, he's carved out a niche as a special teams specialist. But like Will Grier, Goodwin is a vested veteran. That gives the Cowboys flexibility. They can cut him, stash him on the practice squad, and bring him up on game days as needed. That said, it creates what I like to call a future Tom problem. What happens when you've already used up your 3 game day call-ups by week 4 and suddenly Goodwin's out of time? Do you burn a roster spot on him mid-season? Do you risk losing someone else to bring him back? It's the kind of roster juggling headache that only shows up down the line. Plus, with Trayvon Diggs and DeMarvion overshown both expected to begin the season on the PUP list, the Cowboys are already heavy at DB and linebacker. It's a crowded room, and Goodwin might get caught in the numbers game unless an injury opens the door. Speaking of the back end of the roster, all undrafted free agents were cut in ESPN's projection, including linebacker Justin Barron and safety Elijah Clark. That's not shocking on paper, but don't count them out just yet. Barron, in particular, is a name to keep an eye on. He didn't get a huge signing bonus, but that doesn't always tell the full story. The linebacker room is far from settled. Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn look like the Week 1 starters, and Sanborn might even be wearing the green dot on defense, a big deal in terms of trust and leadership. Damonique Clark is still developing and has been just a tick slow at times. Shamar James is promising but raw, and overshown will be shelved early. There's a path for someone like Barron to sneak onto the roster, especially if he shines on special teams. Same goes for Elijah Clark at safety. If he lights it up in preseason, he could follow the Julius Wood path from last year, make a splash, win over fans, and maybe even force the coaches to keep 5 safeties, especially if Donovan Wilson isn't locked in. Keep an eye on both of them. Lastly, some late-round draft cuts stood out, including Phil Maffa again and defensive tackle Tommy Akingbasat. Now, I'll be doing a deeper breakdown on the defensive tackle room soon, but let me just say this group is a concern. Outside of Osa Odichizua, Maisie Smith, and Solomon Thomas, there's a lot of unproven talent. Jay Toya has upside, but isn't a lock. Akingbasat feels like a project, someone they might try to sneak onto the practice squad. But what if someone like Perion Winfrey makes a strong impression in camp? What if a veteran gets signed late? It wouldn't be shocking at all if this position group looks very different come week 1. So, let me throw it back to you. Cowboys Nation name, a player you think will get cut. Hit the comment section, sound off, and don't forget, most comments today gets that free entry for the George Pickens jersey giveaway. We'll have daily coverage through all of camp, so hit that subscribe button and stay locked in right here on the Dallas Cowboys Fans.